Okay, we're backstage right now at Tiki Oasis, Monster Island, with the legendary Sonics from Tacoma, Washington. And I'm going to ask them a few questions. They just got off stage for the storming set. Rob, the Sonics, the Wailers, the Kingsmen, Paul Revere and the Raiders, Don and the Good Times. What was it about the Pacific Northwest that made this great, hard rhythm and blues rock and roll sound that you guys all had?
I don't know. It was a hotbed for that kind of music up there. Everybody wanted to be in a rock and roll band, me included, and everybody else. The Seattle guys, the Seattle bands were jazzier oriented, really good musicians. Us blue-collar guys down in Tacoma in the waterfront town, we just wanted to play a Little Richard. We just wanted to rock. So
Right.
that's how we kind of grew up. And the Seattle bands, who were really, really good, I don't mean to put them down, but it was more doodly-ah-ba-doon-ta-ta, where we're down there doing 4/4 rock and roll.
Right. So what was there any one specific rock and roll record that you first heard that made you want to play the sax and be in a band like that?
Yeah, I think it was Lucille by Little Richard.
Yeah.
I think that, for me, that was probably it.
Yeah, okay. That was what lit the fuse, I guess.
I
Right?
guess it did, yeah.
Let me ask a question of Freddie. Freddie,
Yes.
you were part of that whole scene back then.
I was.
Tell me about your band.
My band
Back
in
then.
Spokane. I was in a band called the City Council, and then I went into the Liverpool Five in 1967, which was a British band, and I
Right.
was like the second American to play in a British band back then.
On RCA Records, right?
That's right. And then I went with the Kingsmen in 1973, 74, and 83 and 84, and a bunch of other bands in between. And then in 2009, I got asked into the Sonics.
And did you see the Sonics back then and back in the day? And
You bet I did. When I was 15, we were playing The Witch in my first band, the City Council. For
Wow.
sure, yeah.
Rob, maybe you can introduce us to the rest of the guys in the band and tell us a little bit about each guy and what he brings to the table for the Sonics.
So I've got to tell everything, huh?
Yeah. And you
Well,
got
on the end here is Jake Cavalier. He's a fantastic keyboard player and a good singer. Jerry, our original singer, retired from the road, and Dusty knew Jake. We had seen Jake with his band, the Lords of Altamont. We had seen him a number of times, played with him in Europe, played with him in the States. So when it came time to look for a keyboard player, Dusty said, look no further, Jake is there. So we picked Jake up, and he's just been a godsend. He's 10 times better than I thought he was going to be, so we're real happy having him. On my right here is Dusty Watson. Played with everybody. Was on the road with Dick Dale for probably 30 years, am I quoting that right? And a lot of other surf bands, Agent Orange.
John and the Night Riders.
Yeah, John and the Night Riders, guys like that. So Dusty is a well-traveled, highly experienced drummer, and he helped a lot when we did that last album. He was sort of like an assistant production manager on the album. A lot of his ideas are in that album.
Yeah.
So he's hugely valuable. Aside from that stuff, on stage, he's like our original drummer, Bob Bennett. He drives us. He keeps driving us, and that's real important.
Yeah.
Because if we had a jazz guy back there, we'd be faking it. But
Or a guy that was too heavy-handed.
yeah,
He's
exactly.
Just the right touch, that he's the kind of drummer that afterwards people are talking about the drummer,
Yeah, that's right. And he digs that. I mean, he does. Actually, yeah. Well, Freddie. Freddie's been with us.
So now you got to meet our fantastic guitar player, Evan Foster.
We know each other, Mike. We go
Yeah,
back.
Right.
We go back a long ways.
We met Evan when he was playing with the Boss Martians. We did a show in Germany at an old German SS base, and the only thing that was left standing was the cafeteria where the Nazi soldiers ate lunch. That was made into a club, and we ran into the Boss Martians there, and that's the first time I ever saw Evan play the guitar, and seen him a few times since then. And in the wake of the retirement of our other guitar player, Larry,
Yeah.
Evan was an obvious choice. He stepped right in, and you saw him tonight. I mean, he's driving the band too.
Yeah.
These guys are diamonds. They're just invaluable.
What are you going to say about Freddie?
Well, Freddie's been with me for a long time. Freddie's not an original member of the Sonics, but Freddie, you and I have been together 6 or 7 years, something like that. Yeah.
Were you aware of Freddie back then in the 60s? Or was he just...
I was not, although At the time, Larry, our guitar player, original guitar player at the time, knew Freddie and had played in a couple of little bar bands with him.
Right.
So we were looking for a bass player at the time, and we kind of argued Freddie into playing bass. He really didn't want to do it. It's a good thing he did, because he's great now. He's playing great bass. But yeah, he's been with us since then. I almost think of Freddie as an original guy. He's been here so long.
So how's Jerry doing these days?
Jerry's doing great. Jerry's doing great. I talked to him day before yesterday. He's doing good. Jerry just reached a point which people reach occasionally, where he didn't want to get on another tour bus and he didn't want to get into another hotel room.
Yeah.
He just had enough.
Yeah.
And he and I had a long talk about it, and he said, I just don't want to do it anymore. He's going to work in the studio with us. He's writing like he always has done, but he's not going out on the road anymore. He just called a halt to it.
Yeah. So what's next? Do you have a new album planned? Do you writing new songs?
I'd love to do a new album. I've been writing some stuff. Freddie's been looking at some stuff. Evan always does, so we're doing that. Next on the docket for us is about 2.5 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. We're going to Australia. We're going to be down there for 3 weeks. We're going to hit all the major cities in Australia.
Right.
And we did a previous Australian tour in 2011, and we haven't been back there since then, so we're really looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Are you hitting clubs or festivals, or what is it going to be?
Both.
Right.
Venues and festivals.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we got all we needed, right, for Tiki Oasis TV. Thank you, Sonics, for coming to San Diego.
Thank you
America's
so much.
greatest rock and roll city. And hope you come back here soon. And good night, everyone at Tiki Oasis.
Thank you very much.